you and I met. I had to look this up because I feel like we've been knowing each other forever, and that I feel like, oh, we're just friends. We just like talk all the time, which we don't,
Right.
which is so crazy. So it was actually 2021 whenever, my sister got in touch with you for brain core for her son. And then I was like, oh, well, Scout could probably use that. So then we did some brain core with him. And then it kind of snowballed into, well, there's some other stuff going on. Why don't you come over? And there's some stuff in between there. But then you came over to our house.
Yes.
It was July of 2021, which I cannot believe that's that long ago. It feels like it was yesterday. But then so much has happened between there. So it does feel like a long time. But you came over and you slept in one of the bedrooms, and we pretty much worked on Scout. And then so Spencer was at school at the time at Northwestern and in Natchitoches, which is, 4 hours away. So he wasn't home for the first night, right? He came home the next night. I don't remember the story as much as you do, actually. You got better memory than me.
Well, I came to your home more than once. So I came and stayed a couple of days, I think, at your house.
Yeah.
Because I like to see the dynamics of the family. I want to see the body language, how your eyes look or don't look or roll. I like to watch all that because then I can get the dynamics of the family and the way it communicates or the lack thereof. And so I came back another time when I met Spencer, but I didn't meet Spencer that first weekend.
Time? Okay. But when did you stay in his bedroom? The first time?
The first time I stayed in his bedroom, I think 2 nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the first time
That's the first time I came, right.
So the first time you came, you told me, and this is going to, because what we're going to talk about today is for some people kind of out there.
Yes.
It's a lot to take in, and it is, not everybody thinks this way. We're definitely different, and this podcast for me I want it to be different. I want it to be about health and wellness. I want it to be about physical health, but also mental health, spiritual health. And this is huge, mind, body, huge, huge. So before we even start that, they call you the spiritual cardiologist, which is so true. So you help us to work on our hearts, and then work on our hearts and our mind. And then over all of that, it heals so many other areas of our life that God gives you the wisdom to know what somebody's going through, and the blessings to be able to see all these miracles happen, which is just amazing. But back to the story was that you slept in Spencer's bed. You came out and told us that, long story short, that he was an addict, that he was having issues. And we knew he was at school when he was partying, but not to the extent. And lo and behold, that very next few months, he gets in a terrible accident and it all comes to head. Jesus brings it to light. What I thought was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I mean, God forbid I even say it that way. It sounds terrible. But as a mom, I thought it was, I was embarrassed. I was in shame of like, how could my kid do this? Why would he be doing this? Like he didn't grow up this way. He's not around, drugs and all these things. Went to a good school. We paid a fortune for him to go to school. Why is this happening? And then I remember one of the so the night that it happened, I send Marcus out and I'm like, go get him. Like he calls and says, Mom, I saved the voicemails. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Just a heartbreaking, right? Heart wrenching, and we can talk
I've
about
got some of those saved on my phone.
Yeah,
I do.
So you know where I'm at. And so Marcus goes to get him. He calls me back and says, they won't let me take him. He has to go to jail. And I was like, what? He has to go to jail? And then he starts to tell me the story, and I am just bawling, and I'm sitting in my bed, and I am just like, what's happening? Why is this happening? And I'm just so sad. And God audibly, I hear, but I let him live.
Yeah.
And I just, of course, cry again. So I'm going to make sure I don't cry now.
It's okay. Like, it's actually good for people to see that we're human and we do cry. And I call that season of my family's life the dark night of the soul that just lasted more than a night. Right? Because it feels like one really bad dream.
Right.
Right.
Yours was 14 years, you said.
So ours started in 2010, and it was a 14-year journey from the onset of addiction to the recovery process. And so for now, for the audience, my son's been a recovering addict for 3 years now. October made 3 years. I'm so glad.
Yes.
And all those moments, whether it be jail or near death, all these different things in the moment while they're happening, there is a season of shame. But like, I can look at you today and you can look at me today and we can say, are we ashamed of our boys? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. So if you're a mom or a dad out there listening and you hear us, and I'm kind of rescuing my friend right this moment because I see those tears over there. Yeah, letting you recover some, because I've been in your shoes.
Yeah.
we've walked the same path. And when we've walked the path of each other's sorrow, whether it's the death of a child, addict, a divorce, any trauma in our life, miscarriage, whatever they are, there's an instant bond. And that night when I slept in Spencer's bed, I literally smelled pot in my nose every time I went to sleep. I would get up and walk around his room and smell towels and like try to figure out where the smell was coming from. And the third time I woke up with the burning in my nostrils, I said, God, what is this? He said, Spencer's an addict and they don't know it. And I was like, oh gosh, well, how do I tell them that? Right.
Yeah, you
So
weren't here for that.
I wasn't there
You
for
weren't there
that.
for Spencer.
That's right. I was there doing brain core brain therapy, which is basically neurofeedback because it does help with behavioral, physical, mental, emotional, all those different things. So yeah, you were the mom that was like, how could this happen to me? Sickness happens to us all. Sickness doesn't choose families based on their upbringing, their religious belief, or their education. And mental illness, one of my big bodacious worthy ideals is that I would change the way that America looks at mental illness and mental wellness.